say start as early as possible with posing. Don't leave it till last minute. Don't be in a prep and then decide to work on your posing halfway through. Like straight off the back, as soon as you have that thought to compete, get it nailed, book in a session, get the foundations in, and just rinse and repeat. It's all about repetition when it comes to posing.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, well, like I mentioned earlier, what time of day do you do it and things? Sometimes you're thinking, you know, like so much goes into a day, every single day of prep. And sometimes the contortionist vibes, it's like, I can't even face it. Like I'm thinking, oh God, I'm so knackered. But then I always find, get some music on, like make a posing playlist. Well,
yeah.
You know,
music really helps, you know, to get in that vibe and you know get moving a little bit more. But also I always say about, you know, mobility and stretching. That is so important when it comes to posing. And if you have that already in your routine, like that's a bonus. Or if you already have regular recovery sessions like sports massage, it really just helps. It aids your posing. And I feel like that gets, you know, is an afterthought a lot of the time. And when I do group posing sessions, I always drill the importance of that. And if I've had people with mobility issues, like I've had people like 65 plus, or people that have had spinal injuries, and it's all about trying to get them into these poses as best as they can, but also work on their mobility alongside the posing, so it's not, you know, it's not an issue, and trying to just bring out the best of their physique, because not everybody has that mobility, and they have certain restrictions. I myself have a good side and a bad side. I have this year tried to work on the bad side. So yeah, everyone's got no one's perfect.
When you get famous, you know, everywhere you go, people recognize you. You don't have as much privacy. If you do something bad in public, people are going to talk about it. So you got to really be careful and, you know, more conscientious about what you're doing, because you're being watched, and, you know, any mistake you made is going to become a video that people react to. So yeah, there's drawback, but there's benefits, you know, free gym memberships, free food, free travel, things like that. I don't have that stuff as much anymore, but at the peak when I was trending, yeah, I had all the celebrity perks.
Do you feel like, reflecting now, that it could have gone that bit? Like, was it something you were like, it's blowing up and people are understanding who I am? Or did it like happen and you're like, holy shit, everyone knows who I am?
There's certain moments of that. Like, you know, the first time I went to a bodybuilding expo, you know, while being famous, and all of a sudden everybody there knows me, or going into a new gym in a different country and everybody in the gym knows me, stuff like that. Yeah, that was shocking. But, you know, you only get shocked a couple times and then it becomes normal.
And you were around the era of Rich Piana as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, like many other influencers at the time, was planning a lot of collaborations with Rich, became acquaintances, you know, not close friends with Rich, but was planning on collaborating together and hung out together a couple times. He was part of my inspiration. You know, before me, there was, as far as people that reached a large audience openly using steroids, there was a few guys before, but it never really got into the mainstream.
It's normal to go through the ups and downs of bodybuilding and the ups and downs of feeling not your best. I go through it. I've known other competitors who go through it. Sounds like you've gone through it, but you just have to push through. You just got to push through. Don't give up. Do not give up on yourself. Just, if you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. If you need a vent. If you need to talk to your coach, talk to your coach. But push through that, because typically right on the other side of that barrier that you have created for yourself is the promised land, right? Is the big drop, right? The big 5-pound drop, the big, you know, huge level of conditioning that you've been looking for, the increase in energy again that you've been dying for, whatever it is. And so that happened to me. Had a conversation with my coach on, I think it was Friday. And then I've been at about a 1-pound drop every single day since. So I'm like 4 or 5 pounds lighter. So, and I look way leaner. He noticed I look leaner. I feel like I look leaner. So
yeah, that relationship between you and coach, super, super important as well, because in this realm, right, we need to ideally trust the coach. Like, and I reference it as like, the coach is God. And I don't mean that as like, you know, this sort of authority figure that you need to you need to reside yourself over completely and not ask questions and things and explore self-doubt, etc. But this is why we hire a coach, because particularly in prep, your head goes, and you do need that trust there to go, look, my coach knows what we're doing, let's push through. And I also like how you mentioned about this sort of self-imposed stress. Now, what does stress do to a physique? We can cause inflammation, bloating, as you mentioned, you know, gut issues, and we know, and it's not always easy to sort of pick that apart in our own brain when it happens to us, but if we have a lot of stress, a lot of worry, and these things going through our head, it can cause that direct impact on the gut. And it's something I talk about with clients. It's like that gut brain connection. It's so underrated, right?
So underrated. So underrated. I'm still learning how important the psychological component is to like your gut health. I've luckily never really had any negative gut issues, but I definitely noticed that as I was going through this kind of psychological spiral that I was going through, I was like not using the bathroom. And you know, that stuff has an impact. And then especially the importance for bodybuilding of making sure that you have good gut health. I mean, the gut health is like, I can't explain it. I'm terrible at explaining it, but it is so, so important.
Not what I want to do, but that's what you're doing, and it's not harming anybody else. So, I mean, what business is it of mine?
Yeah. Have you,
You know what I mean?
You've got better at that in person over the time? The reason I ask is I actually spoke to a listener the other day that has been experiencing some external pressure from family members and people around her doing her first sort of bit of a prep practice, as it were, and they've started saying things about what she eats and things like that. And she was like, I don't know what to say because it's family. Have you got any sort of tips around that you've used yourself?
Man, the thing about me is I'll cut you off.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. I don't care. Like, I have one life to live. Every single day is meaningful to me. Every single day is an opportunity for me, and it's a gift. Not everybody gets it. So I'm not going to spend a single day letting somebody sit in my face and tell me about me. Like, I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter. You're not going to do that to me. I'll just cut people off. I'll say, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you have such a big problem with it,
Yeah, goodbye. It does get easier with time as well, for sure, because people sort of grind you down, don't they? If you let it go on too long, you suddenly start thinking, I don't want to see this person and stuff like this. And I've had guests on before that have said they've cut family members off because the family members just keep at it. And it's like, look, it doesn't matter who it is. If you're criticizing my passion, there does need to be an element of, it's either cut them off or say to him, look, this no longer carries on this way.
And I had the same conversation with someone the other day. Like, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be so much fun when you get on stage, because it's a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so, like we've said before, and it's not trying to be callous or being dickheads about it, but if you're not gunning for that, like you say, it might only be 5 minutes, you're pouring all of this into that time on stage, you want to fucking rinse it, right? Like, this is your time. And back to what you were all saying earlier about the comparison, and you get to the show and maybe you've spent so long looking on Instagram at everyone else is going to be there, and then on the day and all of those things, it truly does detract away from, you're there to own it, right? Like, this is such, I can't, you can see how my tone goes up here and I get excited about it, but it's like, if you're not going to enjoy that experience, there's a certain degree of, why are you putting yourself through that to get there? Now, I know nerves take over, and particularly first timers, I get nervous still now after 12 years of it because we care. But there's a difference, isn't there? It's like, as soon as you get on that stage, you've got to switch that shit on,
Yeah, I'd say it's like to a lot of people about individual presentations or eye walks or whatever it may be. Like, when I first started competing, especially in the pro ranks, like, I would rush through my individual presentation. But when I did Texas last year, I rinsed the fuck out of it. Until you tell me to get off stage, I will stay on stage and your eyes will be on me the whole time, because I think you work so hard, make the most of it. So I always say to people, chill out, go through it slowly, like, show the judges, show them what you're about, and then when you're ready, finish and leave the stage. If they think you're going and taking the piss, then they'll tell you to get off. that's fine. Just get off. I mean,
You can't hear.
yeah, right. Get off the stage. No, I'm not done.
That actually happened to me, and
Nice one.
I generally can hear them.
Yeah,
When you go on pro level, you go and you do your compulsories by yourself, don't you?
yeah.
I went on and there I was like giving it rock all because I love being on stage. Right? I never used to get nervous at all. And I was going through it all. And then it was only like till about, I must have gone well over my minute. They must have said, Wendy. I was like, carrying on like there it was. Wendy can get off now. That's it. And then in the end, Bob Chickera had to get on the microphone and said, okay, thank you, Wendy. I was like, oh, sorry. And I thought I was going to get marked down for it. I was like paranoid, but I still love being on stage. And a lot of the girls I competed with used to get proper stressed, like backstage and stuff. And they used to laugh at me because I was that annoying little British girl who used to bob around, like hyping everyone up and that. And I said, what are you nervous for? I was like, this is what we've worked for. Like, we might as well go out and enjoy it. We're not like going to fight to the death against each other, It's like not our
gladiators.
Yeah, exactly. And even though it kind of you are, but but you're not. Like you're in the same boat, aren't you?
Smashing each other in the face or anything, oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I know, and I've got some of my best friends. I competed with the same bunch for a long time, and we stay in touch now. We fly out to each other's house. But back then, it's like you have your game face on before prejudging. I'm like, how am I? And I was like, it's here to enjoy ourselves, like lighting up and stuff. And people did, but they got so nervous, and then it's like it takes it away. So and now we're trying to get it over with. Do you want to get it over with? I'm like, hang on a minute. If you spend 6 months, 5 months killing yourself and you want to get it over with, like this is your time, it's your moment. Just go, like you say, like Sarah said, rinse the hell out of it, get up there and enjoy it.
That will contribute into how we feel about food. And if you do have a coach, every coach has different ways that they're going to implement ways to monitor your nutrition, right? So when you take on a coach, it's important to have a conversation in regards to if you have certain thoughts, feelings, ideas in your mind about how you would like to do this, that it's explored. Because some coaches may offer food plans only. Some coaches may also only offer macros. And it's important for you to know where you stand when you are looking to work with a coach. So a bit of a background for myself. When I first got into having a coach and properly committing to being a competitor, the coach that I had for near on 8 years, it was always macro tracking. So actually for myself, other than what I dabbled in beforehand, that's all I ever knew. And I essentially got set macro targets, including a fiber target, and then I would input that in my FitnessPal and essentially create my own food plan within a flexible dieting approach. Now, as I mentioned there, beforehand, I had tried different food plans, but that was always by myself and inputting onto a good old spreadsheet all those moons ago. And I remember, when I first started looking at this and I did my first PT course, it was the baseline of what each macronutrient is. And some of you will relate to this if you've done training in, your level 2, your level 3, that it's just a bit of a baseline understanding. And then it's for us to explore this more and understand more. Now, for myself, I'm always keen to learn. And what I found is straight away, I started to make spreadsheets. I started to make food plans, and I would put the foods in the food plan on the spreadsheet, have all the auto sum calculations, and I started to learn what different foods had different macronutrients. And through that time, I tried keto for 6 weeks, which was really, really tough in regards to, this was sort of the first food plan I followed. And of course, we're eliminating certain foods. It is restrictive. And it was like, whoa, it felt like a new level of commitment to monitoring my food. And actually, I found through doing a true keto diet, for me, it didn't end up feeling so good. And it wasn't the route I wanted to take. So that left me with okay, so where do I go from here? And when I went to the gym, I had a good friend there, and we both was starting to get into bodybuilding, and I started to formulate different food plans, how that would look with different foods and different macronutrients. So as I said, then I went into working with a coach, and that was Stephen. And I'll always remember every week I had to fill in my spreadsheet. So like I say, back in the day, you know, every day filling out what macros you'd hit and doing that myself through my Fitness Pal, I hit the macronutrient targets bang on the letter. And it actually, for me, unleashed a neuroticism to get the bang on targets. So whatever my targets were at the time, they were exact in my tracking methods. And that for myself, for sure, unleashed this neuroticism, but it also unleashed something in me that I guess proved to myself that I could do this to the nth degree, and I felt happy doing that. And a lot of you that listen, I'm sure, are going to be an all or nothing approach. And that is something that is associated with bodybuilders. We like control, we like structure. And for me, hitting those targets bang on is not a problem. If I'm set macronutrient targets, I'm set targets. And this is where you will hear this on the podcast. If you are in this and you really want to get everything nailed and bang on, then there's going to be certain people listening that go, yeah, I hear you. I understand, you know, I do not want to leave anything to chance. And actually at points of my journey with Stephen, at one point in particular, he pulled me up on it and he said, there's absolutely no way you can get these macros bang on every single week, because there was an allowance of 5 grams either side in a diet and 10 grams either side of each macronutrient target in an off season. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, I've never had a client that has been able to track to the absolute number of the target day in, day out for consecutive weeks, months, and years. And there was points in off season where he would challenge me to go, okay, let's go over your macros or under your macros. Then I started to get into different thought processes and methods of control, where actually what I would do, and this is where he then again pulled me up, if I went over on my protein target, so say by 5 grams, so if it was 170 gram macro target for protein and I went to 175, what I would then do is test the system, I guess, but I would then go under on my carbohydrates by 5. And because the same calories are yielded through protein and carbs, I'd then still be hitting the exact calories, but still exploring going under or over certain macro targets. And then he pulled me up again. No, I don't want you to borrow one and substitute the other. I want you to go over or under and allow yourself that 10 gram allowance and explore how that feels to come away from so much control and neuroticism over my food. Now, for me, again, you might relate here, guys. It felt like I don't understand why I wouldn't want to hit things exact. And I thought that was a good thing, you know, and I always felt like it was almost like a badge of honor that I could do that. And I got off on it. And I still get off on being able to do certain things as a bodybuilder, because it's not a problem for me to stick to a plan 150%. I'm exaggerating there, but you know, I want to hit my targets as bang on as possible. But as he had picked up, and this is where the emotional attachment can come in here, guys, is that I was institutionalizing myself by these numbers. And when I say I was in the matrix every day, for sure I was. And that was for years and years and years. Everything was absolutely bang on, because I don't see another way to do bodybuilding. And at that time, it was like, I'm so focused on these numbers that it would be very hard for me not to hit the numbers. Now, as you will pick up on the podcast, this is very much me. I don't have a problem sticking to the bodybuilding lifestyle. I absolutely love it. And what I said there, right? I was imprisoned by these numbers, so focused on these numbers. And over time, I've been able to understand why Stephen got me to explore the different ranges and be able to not be so rigid in different phases. So this is where, again, like I said at the start, it might be that you're more flexible in different phases as a bodybuilder, because in prep, in my mind, we are robotic, we are hitting targets, and there's no room to slip up here. That's me personally. You know, I have never, hands down, cheated on my diet. And that is the God's honest truth. And that for me was never an option. Now, like I said, when I got into bodybuilding, this unleashed some new level of control for myself. And actually over time that did start to, I guess, when I reflect back, wear on me mentally, because all day, every day, I'm thinking, have I hit my targets? What do I need to push and pull to hit these targets? And I have a joke when I say this, but if I need to cut a green bean in half, whatever I need to do, I would do it. But when that spans across years, that does take its toll. And what I'm now able to do is reflect back and go, okay, so I understand that more, that there can be flexibility in the different phases, because what that can lead to is a bit of a warped relationship with food, because you're always eating for a purpose, generally speaking, as a bodybuilder. But what that can do is build a fear of food and being able to embrace off plan. And that's certainly something that, yeah, okay, right, we want to hit these targets in all the phases, but we are still human. And that's what I certainly forgot as I was moving through my bodybuilding journey. And then when I got to off-plan situations, it was very scary. And I always say this to my clients, and this was always for my own thought processes. If I'm told I can have off plan, I would have guidelines there. But I personally feel, and like I say this to my clients, that if you've been told you can have off plan, that is still in your plan. And this is where it can become a bit of a confusion, because it's like, so it's called off plan, but that's still in the plan. That doesn't make sense. But this is where we start to rewrite how we view different phases and different thought processes around having off-plan foods, because then we are in danger of potentially, when it comes to off-plan, if we don't follow guidelines, if we don't communicate with our coach, if we literally do whatever the fuck we want, that can lead to, of course, potential binge type episodes, a lot of backlash on your GI, a backlash on your training, your energy, your general well-being and performance. And that backlash does over time cause potential sensitivities, mild intolerances for your gut, maybe even worse than that. We can end up having, of course, these thought processes linked to certain foods and certain memories and certain off-plan occasions. And there's a whole realm of different things that can occur if we feel like off-plan is just balls to the walls, fuck it, I'm going to have exactly what I want. It's not, and I will repeat that, it's not me saying you shouldn't have off-plan and enjoy different foods. What it is me saying, if you're a bodybuilder and or competitor, generally speaking, off-plan is going to be there for a reason, and that could be a multitude of things. And having elements of control and some guidelines in place can really help for off-plan to become more of a enjoyable experience, being able to facilitate you really immersing in having some nice food, rather than you feeling like you're counting down the days to off plan and then it's the fuck it button. Because more often than not, as bodybuilders, we can then be led into, I shouldn't have eaten X, or do I need to do extra cardio? Do I need to spend time in the gym? Do I need to be there longer than I normally do? How do I get back those calories that I've eaten? And you can see how this cycle starts to develop where we can end up being in these binge restrict type cycles. Now, what I would say is, guys, if you are getting into bodybuilding, perhaps this is your first stint at it and you're, you know, fairly far in, whatever method you use for tracking and whatever your thought processes are towards after your first show, it's super, super important in my mind that we do facilitate having support in this period of time.
As a pro, like that's definitely much time is spent on, am I going to be good enough? But
Yeah,
I'll be my best, and that's all we can be. So
exactly that. Now, tell us a bit more about that. So obviously I know a bit of the story behind what this year holds for you, but what was the decision in this being your last year going to stage?
a multitude of things like that. The more I speak about it, the more things come out, and that's why I know it's the right thing, because the list is quite endless. So I've been competing since 2010. So come the end of the last show this year, I'll have done 30 shows, which over a 12-year period isn't like massive, like especially the way kind of guys churn them out these days. But I suppose the caliber of show I've done in the past has been pretty good. Kind of, yeah, put myself out there. So it's a combination of I'm 36. I've been doing it for 12 years competitively. I've like progressed every year, but it's been slower and slower and slower. I'm a very kind of self-aware individual. Like I'm realistic. I'm not someone who, you know, I never spoke about turning pro in the first place. I'm certainly not going to sit here and think that the Olympia is like an option. That I think that's something as well, like another reason itself. Like from now, as an amateur, like getting pro was the thing. And then once you're pro, it's kind of quite like, yeah, you could set your sights on top 10, top 5, top 3, but it's pretty much like the next significant milestone is the Olympia, which is a huge step up for any new pro. And like I said, 36, how many years will I need to dedicate that? How's my body holding up? It's starting to break down. Do I want to enjoy bodybuilding after competing? Absolutely. I still love the sport. I don't want to be someone who like retire or is forced to retire and resents, you know, that what it's done to me, you know, churn me up, spat me out. I like the idea of stepping back on my own terms and just being like, I've done good. I don't feel I could have done much better. Maybe I could, maybe I couldn't, but it's a what if I'm willing to live with. And I can now continue to train, continue to live like a bodybuilder, but just not the extremes. I think the big thing the past kind of 2 years has been just the off seasons. Being heavy, you know, I'm 6'6", getting up to sort of like 350 pounds plus. It's just horrible. Like there's no two ways about it. And you know, when we talk about the more morbid side of the sport, like that's what's going to kill me, being at that body weight for an unnecessary amount of time. The drugs, sure, they're not going to help, but they're not going to do the thing that kind of stop my heart. It's going to be carrying around that body weight, and I don't enjoy it. And I've always been someone who likes to do what they enjoy. So I would rather sit at a more aesthetic, comfortable physique level and yeah, enjoy training and basically take it from there. And then there's no reason to compete then, because if I can't get better, I don't want to compete. So I could just kind of do, you know, a mild off season, not push body weight and then get on stage. But I just don't feel with the feedback I'm going to need, which I know straight away, if I get judges' feedback, it's going to be, you need to put on another 10, 20 pounds of muscle. You know, I've been doing that, trying to do that for the past, you know, 10, 12 years. And I've done a good job, but like I said, diminishing returns, risk versus reward. So yeah, there's like quite a handful of reasons there. And like I said, the more I talk about it, the more I can come out with them. You know, we've got this lovely house, me and Yvette are now living together. We've been together for years. And it's just, you know, she's always supported me, and this is nothing to do with any sort of external pressure from her, but it's just like I want to live my life with her. Like I don't want to spend 4 or 5 months of the year where I have to shut down any sort of date, any sort of social, anything like that. And while I'll still be, after 12 years, you're not going to be able to just flip the switch to be Mr. Spontaneous.
Yeah.
Just having the ability, you know, to do that is something I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, there's a lot I'm looking forward to, and there's a lot I'm very kind of sure of. And we've spoken, you know, if in 2, 3, 4 years time the itch comes back, you know, over 40s might make a comeback, who knows.
Sometimes it's an elephant in the room, but you and I are open.
It's a massive elephant in the room, yeah. Not so much now as it was, but I remember even halfway through my pro career, I used to hang out with the girls, or all the pro shows were in the States, so I used to hang out with the girls in the States, and like, you know, when you're just hanging around on show day, chatting and stuff, and nobody talked about gear, right? Nobody, I think. And occasionally there was like someone would pipe up and say, I think George Farrer was top coach of the girls, like back in that day. Oh yeah, George has got me doing this, and I'd be like, eh. And I was thinking,
You taking?
oh, that's what you're taking. And I'd be like, wow, that's bad. I'd be like writing stuff down, and I'd go back and be like, no, you're not doing that. I was like, but some of the stuff I was like, but it was always hush hush. It was never talked openly about. Like it is more so now. But back then it was like, and as much as we were just very close, we would still never talk about the drugs, which is I used to find really weird, because like, well, why don't we just all like be truthful? It's like the big secret. Well, you know, and then when eventually people did start talking out, and I used to think, oh fuck, that's like that all that stuff, and I was thinking, wow, and you look like that. I'm so pleased I didn't take that. But like,
Well, yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Because
yeah.
actually, as you said there, I think the positive to it being more out in the open, as it were, and actually, you know, you can see reels on Instagram, you can go on Google, you can
go anywhere now, and it's out talking about, you know.
Yeah, and I think the positive is that actually there is athletes coming out and, you know, even in the heavily muscled categories, and they're saying, you know, I'm on quite low doses. Now, of course, it may be that they ran higher doses earlier on in their career, and that has an impact, right? So if you use a high amount of PEDs earlier on, that will still have an effect later on, and maybe you've titrated down. But I think it's quite nice and refreshing for actually at times for athletes to be saying, you know, I am on lower doses than you may think, to then inadvertently maybe help and educate people that are thinking you've got to run, you know, a fuck ton of gear to be in the heavily muscle categories.
And it's quite scary. Well, I used to be like, I know when Kim first told me, like, this is what we're going to do, and she said, we're never doing this, we're never doing that, no matter what, and then you'll see. And it was fine, because I know this sounds really horrible, I'm just being truthful. When I used to be backstage, and we used to get like it's like a conveyor belt with the tanning screens and stuff. So we used to have to obviously go, we had to have their tan, and we'd go there like 7 o'clock in the morning to get our first coat of tan. We'd stand there butt naked. And when I first turned pro, I was like, oh my God, like I didn't know where to look. I was shocked, right? Nothing shocks me now. Nothing shocks me now. But I used to see them without the makeup on, without the wigs on, without them anything on. And I used to think, I never want to look like this. Right. So that for me, I used to put me off anyway. Right. So I used to think, nah, like so I was quite happy that I saw that, because it made me realize I'm not doing that. I will not, no matter what. But at the same time, for some people, they get too far down the line to actually stop, and then before they know it, I had this conversation with someone the other day. Before they know it, the coach has got them on this, and this, and then they realize that they don't like how they look, and the partner doesn't like how they look. But now the coach is kind of in control of them, because the only person who can like them is the coach. So like they're kind of controlling their life because of the drugs they've given them. And sometimes people don't go in, they don't know what the consequences are until it's too late. And then by then, like I suppose the coach is like the puppeteer who controls them.
Yeah.
Like take this, take that, okay. And then before you look in the mirror, you're like, what's happened to me? And like, you know, no one's gonna find me attractive. Well, you're right, but it's all right, because your coach is like got you where they want them. And it's quite sad really, but just kind of gone off track a bit there. But yeah, like some of the effects I saw in real term actually prevented me from taking some stuff.
Yeah,
as well.
and it's as well, you know, that realms of, like you said, if you don't tell your partner, or you know, you're sort of keeping it secret, your family members, or particularly your partner, like you said, they're going to be thinking, hold on a minute, you know, things have changed. Like clit enlargement is a thing, right? It is. And again, some coaches won't talk about that. And
But
you know,
it's true, and it happens, and it's like there's no matter how hard you try to hide, you can't hide it.
yeah, it's
like,
it's
but
long
it
lasting.
does happen. Yeah. So like, you know, I get real, but this is how, do you want this to happen? Well, I'm not saying it will, because sometimes it won't, but this is I've seen many girls getting taped up backstage.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, it's true. Like, that's how it is. But I mean, you don't have to go into the gory details with your family. I mean, my family, obviously Kate knows and everything. Even I think the kids are old enough now, but my parents to this day do not know. As I'm doing this podcast now. But no, they would. But it's almost like a denial fact.
Yes.
And I think I got questioned once when I lived at home. I hope you're not taking those steroids because obviously you've got a bad name. I was like, no, mum, as my face went about red. That was it. And that's all I got. And then, but I kind of think I've come out the other end all right without like too many effects, especially from like the amount of years I've been doing it.
We had to sit down and really go over the kind of things that were causing the anxieties in the first place and what was triggering the sort of nervous panic response that I was getting. And it's shit, you know, you don't want to have to revisit it, but if you really want to move forward, and it comes back to that point where you go to therapy because you have to go backwards to move forwards. If you truly want to go forwards with your bodybuilding journey and you have a coach you can 100% trust and rely on, they have to know you back to front. Because I remember when I wanted to start a bodybuilding journey and start it in terms of getting on a stage, and people were like, oh, you need to work with your coach for like at least 6 months. I was like, why? Like, they're just peeling you out for like 12 weeks. What's the fucking problem? Like, this is why you are so blind going into it. A lot of people are. You're just like, I don't understand. And you get a coach because you want to get on stage. And in your mind, you can understand enough to be like, well, some people do it in like 12 weeks, 20 weeks. And it's like, right, so can't you just peel me inside out and we'll be right then? And from our relationship now, knowing what next prep will be like on that basis and how much, yes, it'll be hard. Don't anyone think it's not hard. It's fucking hard, right?
It'll be.
But it will be a breeze of difficulty instead of mountains of difficulty. And that's the difference, you know. And there has been a lot to clear up, but it's great because you know what I can handle, what I can't handle, what if you put that in front of me, I'm going to be like, whoa, what the fuck? Versus you going, well, let's not do that. Let's try this.
Like she said, it's just a part of what makes us better. So we also, I think, have a responsibility to show that more and not be so afraid of what people are going to think, because people are going to think and say something no matter what we do. So at least maybe we can reach out in a positive way for other people so they can feel positive also if they're in the same position.
Yeah. And I think I've had conversations with other pros that have actually said that themselves, that they do feel really self-conscious about posting when they're in off season. But you've got to take that step to become comfortable with it. If you constantly only post the shredded pictures and you have that feedback loop of people loving you being shredded, I think some of the most views I've got on my Instagram are my off-season check-ins.
Yes.
It's not the prep ones, it's the off-season ones.
I think
So
it's
surprising
people when athletes, you know, get this attention in an off season, they haven't posted before in an off season, and then they get loads of likes, like you say, reels pop off or whatever, and they're like, yeah, but you know, the validation was in prep, and it's actually like, maybe it's because people don't get to see it that we're doing the off seasons and what that requires, and that goes beyond that. You know, when you've got injuries, when you've got personal circumstance, like, of course, you know, we're of a similar mindset where we sort of push through anything, right? But sometimes there's going to be things that even people like ourselves that are really motivated and really focused on the goal, we could be very thrown off by something, and that could be anything, and that can then, you know, force you into certain realms of what you need to do next. So being able to reinforce that you got to do what's right for you on your journey rather than feel like this pressure to always keep prepping as well.
You're not going to make the progress if you're always on prep.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've been there myself. But you do get into this like, well, I'm only worthy, I'm only validated if I'm in prep. And actually, you know, I'm 2 years into off season now, and various things have happened, obviously with the injuries and stuff. But I'm like, actually, I don't feel this need to be like stage lean so people like me or follow me or like my posts or what have you. I'm like, this is sick because maybe I'm inspiring other people to do a longer growth phase as well. And we all resonate here to be able to celebrate the multiple phases. And of course, when you're in your prep, you want to fucking share it when you're getting shredded. It's like, this is sick. This is for you. This one is for you. I know that you guys appreciate, generally speaking, the people I speak to, my rambles and how my brain works, how I view the world and how I view bodybuilding. And what I want to finish on is that external pressure that can really cause detriment to you. So I've spoken to a few of you recently about abuse that you face, about comments that you face, and about times where you feel quite alone on this journey. And it truly breaks my fucking heart that people feel the need to inflict their shit on you. It honestly, it's hard to put into words because I know what that feels like, but I also feel it when I speak to you guys, when maybe it's your family members or even your partner. Maybe it's people at your workplace. Maybe it's people that you view as friends, when they don't actually ask how you are, they just inflict their shit on you. Now, what I would say with this, guys, is to actually take a moment to look at these people, the people that are causing you trouble, the people that may give you abuse, the people that may give you comments. Is it from a place of care and they don't have the education of what bodybuilding requires, and maybe they're trying to help and they care so much about you and they're finding it hard to see what you're doing? So if it is, there is those levels of communication we can offer. Ultimately, it might end up in you saying, please let me do this. Maybe they can speak with your coach. It's something that I've done with clients. You know, if their partner doesn't understand it, I jump on a Zoom and I talk to them about it. Maybe that's an option. Maybe they can listen to a podcast of mine or another podcast. I did one when we celebrated the 100th episode of communicating your prep with people around you. Is there an opportunity where you can sit down with them and say, and I had to do this with my mum, this is really getting me down. The comments you're saying, it's really affecting me. And it's causing me to feel very negative about something I'm passionate about, and lay it on the line. Literally lay it out on the line. Show them the emotion. Show them the passion. If what you're facing is from a place of someone being, let's face it, a fucking cunt, if it is, we need to look at this objectively and we need to ideally gravitate away from this. If this is someone sitting behind a computer, being a laptop warrior, sending you abuse about your physique, how you look, what you're doing, what PEDs you're using, what you're eating, all of these things, take a look at them. And maybe you can't even see their profile, right, if it's a troll on social media, but has this person got their shit in line? Is this person someone that inspires you? Is this someone that you want to be like? Is this someone that, you know, you look up to? And if it is, why? Why do you look up to them? Because if someone is causing you this negative output, but you're looking up to them, you're almost going to find yourself going into a victim mindset. Now, this might be remotely, right? This could be an athlete that you follow that says things that upset you, and not directly at you, but they maybe call stuff out that you do or you've done in the past or things like that. Is it an idea to think about, do we really need to follow that person? Do they inspire me enough to be detrimental to my own mental health? And of course, that's a decision for you to make. And another extension of this is this your coach? Is this your coach saying things to you that are out of line? Is this your coach essentially abusing you? Is this someone that's in a place of authority that is bad-mouthing you, that is bringing you down, that is making you feel like shit? Because that is not okay. It is not okay. Yes, you might be following a plan from a coach and you get it wrong. or you make a mistake, or you slip up and you tell them, and that causes a negative reaction from your coach. And for sure, a coach, if you're telling him I'll do whatever it takes and you're deviating from the plan, yes, there may be a heated discussion, or there may be, you know, it might be quite a difficult conversation. However, you do not deserve to be spoken to like a piece of shit. And this is where we need to look at our environment and what those external pressures are. Are these people that are causing you problems? Are these people that you can gravitate away from? Is there a life without these people? And can you make steps to come away from that? To immerse in what bodybuilding can bring, guys. Bodybuilding has literally saved me. And in turn, I've saved myself. I found my passion, and that has allowed me to believe in myself and my self-worth. It's enabled me to go on this journey of self-exploration, of going to places I never even dreamt of. It's given me purpose. It's given me identity. I'm still a person. I'm still Sarah. But my passion is bodybuilding. My passion is helping others. My passion is to help you come through these challenges times. Everything I've spoke to you about today, if there's something that resonates with you, I hope that it can help hearing me talk through these things and sharing my personal anecdote. Because when we look at how long I've been bodybuilding, I've pretty much got a degree in it, right? But all joking aside, guys, you know, what you're doing every single day for this to better yourself, please, for me, like I said, take a moment, stop what you're doing, look around and see what bodybuilding brings you.
I have men commenting like, oh, that's too big, or your physique is gross. It's like, I'm going to take that as a compliment now. If my physique personally offends you, thank you.
When people comment and say you're too muscular or you shouldn't be that big, and I talk about this on the pod because I do have guests that are female bodybuilding realm where that's most heavily muscled, as it were. And I'm like, I've never understood it, because I guess I understand what it takes to build muscle and to build a physique like that, particularly as a female. You know, it's not easy to gain muscle mass. So a lot's gone into that. And it's so funny because Matt will sometimes comment when I've had the odd, you know, not many, but the odd comment, and he's like, she looks better, she's got more muscle than you, and you're a man. And you're like, you know, it's so weird, isn't it?
Very weird. And it's like, you say this stuff like, oh, you're too big. And it's like, this didn't just happen. Like, this girl or this athlete, myself, we're working our asses off day in and day out to be able to look like this. We're not doing it to appease you. And it wasn't just like an accident that this happened. Like, I want this and I'm working towards something that I want. And someone else's opinion, if they don't like it, it's not going to change how I feel about my physique and what I'm doing. Even my mom, because my mom is someone who's like, I think you're going too far. I'm like, okay, mom.
Mums are so quality, aren't they?
You can always count on mom to humble you.
Yeah, for sure. Because it is quite a wild, like, it is a wild concept when we look at competing as a whole. You know, you're doing all of this, as I touched on earlier, and it's like, this is for one day or multiple shows, and it takes a certain individual to do it. But I feel like the mum's love and care to see you start growing muscles and, you know, being up on a stage in the bikini. And it's probably, when I think, like, if this was roles reversed, I'd probably be like, I mean, this is quite cool, but it is a little bit weird because my mum had never seen anything with bodybuilding. Had yours?
No. Yeah. So it's just very weird. And it's also like the caring aspect, because they see you so lean and depleted and grumpy and unhealthy, and they're like, ooh, like, why are you doing this? Like, it's more so from a loving aspect, like they just want you to be healthy and happy. But then as soon as I put more body fat on and I kind of look the same, normal, she's like, oh, okay. Not too much anymore.
Yeah.
The accessibility also comes with a lot of delusion as well. And I think this is what people don't quite understand on what's required or what is needed to be a proper bodybuilder and not an Instagram bodybuilder.
Yeah, for sure, because we know from our talks, you know, what we've poured into it ourselves. And we've always said, right, this is not us saying we're better than anyone or, you know, anything like that. But the dark places that we've both visited, and a lot of the bodybuilders I speak to that have done this for a number of years and really pursued the ranks, you know, I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, prep's this wonderful thing and you've just got to do a diet. But there is that difference when you are getting, you know, peeled to the bone and you're really pushing yourself through the different ranks that we can go through. It's so different because your whole life, every single minute, as we know, and that's not just prep, that's off season as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this is where a lot of people say, oh, I don't need a coach. I can do this. I can do that. I can do it all myself. Is off season. And that's great, the amount of people that think that. But nobody who is a beginner to the sport truly understands the point of an off season, that it should be harder than your prep, effectively.
Yeah, because it is, well, particularly for yourself, you know, again, different federations, different individuals. We've spoken about what you're doing and what you need to do in this off season off the back of doing your health phase. It's like you're pushing up to extremes. And we both know Josh, who came on the pod as well. And he's actually, this is his last year of competing, as you know, because what he'd need to do, he doesn't want to push up to that level anymore, and he just wants to sort of live as a bodybuilder. And I think that is quite a, well, it is a hard decision, but it is something that maybe not considered by, you know, people just getting into the sport and thinking, oh, I'll step on stage. It's like the extremes you're going in the off season, as you say, is fucking wild, right?
Yeah, man. Like, as obviously we spoke about before, people think, I want to get big, I want to get big. But to you, how big is big? Because this is a thing. Because the guys like Josh and obviously Nathan, you had on the other week, and now me, you know, I can guarantee you us guys sleep with a CPAP. People don't see that. You know, I can guarantee you our joints hurt. You know, when you're sat there, I mean, them guys are 300 pound plus in the off season. I'm working towards 300 pound. Do you know what I mean? And this is a thing that people don't understand, that weight is effectively like two human beings.
To make progress and consistent progress, you need to give yourself, within reason, that's why I'm saying not to be too strict in terms of keeping people super lean for a long period of time, but you've got to give yourself the most amount of runway for progression. So it's just getting back up to maintenance and then just taking things nice and slowly, and just allowing some flexibility in the diet to enjoy time with family, friends, loved ones, so they're not sort of super food focused all the time.
Yeah, which is, that's that. I guess that does certainly come with experience, because you're almost like, I know this is coming. So it's like I'll say to Matt, like, I just need to talk about it. Like when I'm so hungry and it's like, I don't want to fuck this up, but I'm going to talk to someone about it that I can trust. And it's like, it's okay, you know, and also I'm sure you'll have your own ways as well, finding things that work during this phase. So a bit more volume, not excessive volume, of course, because like you mentioned there, GI, but there's little tips and tricks as experienced competitors that we sort of pick up, isn't there? And it's like, those things can really help you just get, it's almost like you got to get through this bit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's all right for you, you're eating this. I mean, my food's, I'm starving, don't get me wrong, like, I'm clock watching for every meal already, but they're like, yeah, but your food's X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still on half the amount of carbs of what I were peak off season. Like, so trust me, I'm hungry. It's just that my food requirements are different to your food requirements. So yeah, it's there's definitely tips and tricks. Going to bed early is one of them. But yeah, it's I think the more experience you get, the better you are at dealing with it, and you know what's coming, so you can kind of just manage it. But we all have moments where we're like, I could kill for this, or
as long as I look better, you know the drill. As long as you look better, that's all that matters.
For sure. Like, I really do feel like, and I talk about it a lot, you know, I really do feel like there's just something so special about that feeling to actually, and we've both had it, you know, when you look in the mirror and you think, I look so much better than last season, or so much better than the last time I stepped on stage, whether there's, you know, a short space of time in between like yourself right now, or however that setup is. And you know those feelings where you're like, I just feel so fucking happy with how my physique is. And it just brings something so different, doesn't it? It's like this, like, I don't know, new level of fulfillment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's super fulfilling. It's just when you get on stage and you look the best you can, there is no better feeling than that, because you know you've worked your ass off to get there, and it's all coming together, and it's just like, right, I don't care where I place, I am looking on point. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be competitors there that potentially look better than you. You can't help that, you know. As long as you've worked your best, as long as you've done everything you can stand on stage proud and be happy with where you've come, you know. It's just like, if you've improved, if you put muscle tissue on since last time, that is the whole point of bodybuilding. That is it, leveling up.
Yeah, and leveling up, of course, it's so multifaceted, like you said. So gaining muscle is, you know, one of the bigger things. And then it's like, have you polished up your posing a little bit more? You know, is there a bit more flair there? Is there a bit more stage performance there? Do you feel happier in your physique, and does that present differently? And, you know, is the show day experience a bit more smoother than last time? Now, there's all these little things that I think over the years, you just start to really see so much value in, maybe like the smaller things that then become this big effect on your show day to actually bring your best physique, because you're almost at peace with yourself as well, aren't you?
Do you know the biggest stress I have on show day? Remembering everything to bring. By that point, my physique is ready. I've got nothing to do. I just got to make sure I eat my food, you know, I rest, so, you know, water comes off, whatever. It's just making sure I've brought everything with me. Have I got my sliders? Have I got my, you know, lucky sock?
Have you got the sock?
Never forget the lucky sock. I mean, that applies more to males than females, but yeah, you know. But yeah, it's just silly things like that. And it's when you got everything, you get to the venue, you got everything set up, you can just chill and relax. And it's no better feeling, because, you know, you just got to get on stage, do your poses, you know, give a little bit of pizzazz, as I like to say, you know, give it a bit of flair on stage, and hope the judges like you. And if you place, amazing. What a feeling.
It is. It's like, you know, this subjectivity in bodybuilding. There's so many different ways to look at it. And I think that, you know, of course, there are elements of, if you don't get a place in, it could be that, you know, your coach is annoyed even, or you're annoyed, or maybe your family members get involved, and all of these things that, you know, actually, if we can surround ourselves with a coach that's going to be objective and give you feedback to actually progress as an athlete, if your family can be a bit informed as to maybe what to say when you come off stage, because, you know, it's like, you should have won, and it's like, look, mum, you know, and, you know, if you can actually be objective with yourself, what could I have perhaps done better? You know, if you can get someone to video it, or you pay for the footage, or, and actually as an athlete, you know, to move forward, it's like you say with the show earlier in the year, I was flat, you know, and actually going, look, I've done nothing wrong here. I've learnt. I still experience the day. This is what I need to do. I need to get a coach, etc., etc. And that in itself, you know, if you want to do this for a long period of time, that's very fulfilling as well, to actually be able to go, that's what I could have done better, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. It's like when you fail to place or whatever, it's always a lesson. There's always a lesson there. It's like, right, unless you came in absolutely perfect, then there's obviously, you know, it's just because someone's beat you because they're better. But if you haven't come in perfect, there's a lesson there. Right, why am I flat? Why am I watery? You know, why, I don't know, was my posing off? There's always something to learn, you know? And it's funny because you say about, you know, coming off stage and people not knowing what to say to you, like, oh, you should have won. It's like, I had that back in 2021 at the PCA British Finals. I came second to Adam, and he looked phenomenal. but we were completely different physiques. You know, he was smaller than me, by only by a couple of inches or so, but he had his midsection was a lot tighter, a lot smaller, as opposed to me. So I've got a little bit of a bigger midsection, and his posing was probably a little bit better. And that's why they chose him as the winner, you know. But everyone was saying to me when I came off stage, they were like, I can't understand why you didn't win. And it's like, well, I can. I can understand. You know, it's and it was a fair result. Like I didn't deserve to come first. It was close, but you know, Adam just pipped me by that much. I think because of the midsection and stuff and things like that is okay. It's like, yeah, you sort of maybe lose a night over it where you don't sleep because it's like, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have done to win? And then you imagine being the British champion and stuff like that. But you know what it did? It made me hungrier than ever to be the PCA British champion. And then last year I came back and I did it. I became the British champ. So, you know, never give up. Giving up is an option. It's a choice. If you give up, that's a choice you've made.
When I'm in prep, bam, I'm ready to go. I'm raring to go. My headspace is good. Like, because I've had a really nice off season where I've got my food in, grown, had a really good time to switch off, and now I'm fucking ready to go. Because like now I'm ready for it. You know what I mean? Because I've had that time off, and I think a lot of people need to understand that. Have a little bit of time off, like fucking chill out, like.
This mini cut moment is quite a struggle because we started the diet phase 8 weeks post show because I couldn't eat anymore. And it's like, started the first 2 weeks, low calories, had a photo shoot. So cardio was in, got the photo shoot out of the way. And I just said to Dan, I was like, I don't want to do cardio. I don't want to do it. It really hurts already. My head's not in the right place yet because it's only been 8 weeks that I've had off from restriction and cardio. I can't be there again yet. And that's absolutely fine. The point of this sort of mini cut phase is to resensitize my appetite. I don't need to do cardio to do that. It might take a little bit longer, but if everything's hurting from doing the cardio, then I'm not going to be doing what I want to be doing in my sessions because things hurt.
Yeah.
Is that flick of the switch as well? If you've, it's that readiness, isn't it? And I like it when you get to like that last maybe 4 weeks of off season when you know prep's coming up and you're like, I'm fucking so ready for this. Like and then it's just like and then prep, you're fucking loving it. And it's really nice to get to that spot. And I certainly in the earlier years didn't give myself that opportunity because I'd be back in a prep. But as you say, Sarah, you know, you learn over the years that actually it's like, you know, and it's go time then, and we don't have a problem bringing that condition and doing what we need to do in a prep, and that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we spoke about this a lot on our podcast that we did way back, Sarah, is the fact that when I think you asked me whether I'm more regimented now than I was when I was younger, and the answer would actually be probably not, because I now know, you know, what I need to do to get to where I need to, but I also allow myself to breathe and live a lifestyle of a 27-year-old. Do you know what I mean? Like, I still want to go out, like everyone, I still want to go out and have fun. Everyone wants to go out and have fun. But like, I was so regimented when I was younger in the fact that it probably wasn't very healthy. Whereas now, like, I'll get everything I need to get done. And, you know, a lot of people, I think, and this is when it comes around to social media, like, everyone thinks that everyone is perfect. Like, no one strays from the plan. No one does anything that's outside of the plan. Like the fact that you said, Zoe, like you drink, and that's fine. And a lot of people probably think, oh, she probably hates the idea of alcohol. But like, actually, like that's okay. Like, I had someone ask me once if I ate garlic bread, and I was like, of course I eat fucking garlic bread. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am a human that likes garlic bread. Like,
Garlic bread.
Yeah, yeah. Like, but people are like, oh, you eat chocolate. Like, I'm literally 90% chocolate in my off season. Like, do you know what I mean?
remember when you put that on the story when I said, "What's your favourite food?"
Yeah, innit?
Chocolate whore.
It's because I am like, and I think a lot of people just
stage as well, didn't you, Sarah?
What's that?
You went through a squishy stage.
Oh, what, like a squishy stage?
Sweets,
fuck, yeah.
A reference to your off season.
Yeah. Sorry, you were just fat that time.
I said squishy.
Yeah.
I think we should actually finish with our favourite food.
Zoe's like all of them.
Yeah. So Zoe, have you got top 3, Zoe? What's your top 3 favourite food?
Oh, you're gonna think this is disgusting.
Oh, here we go.
Top number one, and it's what I do with it as well. Pork pie, heated up in the microwave with tomato sauce. Yeah, and it tastes like a Greg's sausage roll.
Oh no, I can see that actually.
Yeah. And then second would be probably something like burger and chips or something like Five Guys or something like that, a smash patty or something.
You like Five Guys?
Then third is even worse. It's probably like something like a curry. So I eat the hottest curry you can get, a fowl.
You're
a lot of
you
fowl.
are. You're a legend. You are. Everything you're saying, I'm just like, you're a fucking legend.
Wetting getting a headache while I'm eating it.
Love that.